All right, guys, you know what time it is. It's merge time, baby. That's right. We have finally reached the merge of Survivor 49, and we had, dare I say, a pretty explosive tribal council to deal with, which not only will surely shake up the strategy of the season, but will also shake up my Edgic analysis moving forward. And so today we will take a look at how this explosive tribal council will impact my edit analysis of Survivor 49 episode 7. But first, if you don't know how Edgic works, basically Edgic is a system used to analyze the edit of an episode of Survivor and then give each and every character in the episode a very specific Edgic rating based on how they were edited in that episode. There are 3 different parts to an Edgic rating. The first is the type of edit. There are 4.5 different types of edit ratings. The first is UTR, which stands for under the radar, which means you didn't see very much of them in the episode. The second is MOR, which stands for middle of the road, which means you saw a decent amount of them, but they weren't super fleshed out as a character. The third is CP, which stands for complex personality, which means you saw a pretty good amount of them, and they were pretty fleshed out as a character. And the fourth is OTT, which stands for over the top, which means you saw way too much of them. There's also INV, which is invisible, which means you literally didn't see them at all. That's like a bonus one, though. The second part of an Edgic rating is the tone of the style of edit they were getting. There can either be a P added on to the end of the rating, which stands for a positive leaning tone. It can be an N, which stands for a negative leaning tone. It can be an M, which stands for a mixed tone, which is a little bit of both. Or it can be just no extra letter at all, which is just a neutral tone, no tone. There wasn't really anything leaning one way or the other. And finally, the number in an Edgic rating is basically just a visibility scale from 1 to 5 on how much screen time the person got in the episode. 1 for they didn't get very much screen time at all. 5 for they got a lot of screen time. And so here we are, merge episode 7, later than usual in the new era. We have a big boot. Nate is voted out. I'm devastated, honestly. I'm so sad to lose Nate here. Nate was honestly maybe my favorite person on the season up to this point, other than maybe Sophie B. I really enjoyed what Nate was giving. I mean, if y'all been watching me so far, y'all know I've come on every week and I've glazed Nate. He's been moving up in my Contender Rankings. I've been really enjoying the content, both personally and strategically, I've been getting from Nate so far. I'm very disappointed to see him go. I do think that this is interesting based on the edit and what I think will happen moving forward. I mean, this is kind of a classic Survivor. Like, Nate was kind of this big, archetypical, like, leader of this tribe that was kind of maybe not necessarily, it didn't need to be a dominant tribe, but he was a leader of a dominant tribe, gets cut off at the beginning of the merge in this big vote. It blows up the game, and then either the underdogs that overthrew him will prevail, or the new people that are on the outs will kind of scrape together and get revenge for the big vote out of Nate. I do think that the editors and the producers really wanted the audience to care about Nate. They gave him a lot of really good content here. In terms of talking about like his edit so far, I think that Nate was purposefully edited to be heartbreaking when he goes out. I think they wanted the audience to have that big reaction, to have a break of the heart for him to leave early on in the merge. First one voted out. I think that there was kind of purpose and a reason to that. I talked about this a lot last season when Thomas was voted out, and that was very heartbreaking. I felt like Thomas was given a very generous edit, and that was because he was important to somebody's story moving forward. I think that is the case with Nate. Now, Nate goes out a lot later than Thomas did. And obviously, I also mentioned this earlier with like Jake and Jeremiah, how I thought that they were important, which I also think similarly. I just think Thomas is a really good like representation of a really important character. And I think that, there are a lot of characters probably like this that, you could go back to and reference for previous winners and whatnot. But I do think that it's supposed to be heartbreaking that Nate left. Not only because I think the producers probably liked him as a character, and he was a really good player from what we saw thus far up to this point in the season, but I also think because Nate's legacy will live on. I think he's still going to be important to the future of the season. I think his allies, Savannah and Rizo and Sophie B are definitely going to make a big fuss about Nate getting voted out. I think we're looking towards some interesting stuff moving forward. I'll talk about my predictions for the future at the end of the video. But as for Nate right now, I do think that there was a lot of intent towards Nate going out at this point. I'm very sad to see him go. Devastated. I really wanted Nate to go far in this season. He just seemed like a really, really likable guy, and I think was playing a really good game. But that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes, and you do have those people. And I mean, I'm sad to see Nate go, but I also think that I do like and respect when we do have these kind of things where it's like a big player gets taken out early. Like I do often say sometimes you need that. Sometimes you need that like big player to get blown up early on in the merge, so then the other big player can kind of go to the end and do some different stuff. I'm not totally against that happening. I'm sad that Nate was specifically the person that kind of needed to take that downfall, but I get it. Right. I get why it happened. I think we got 7 pretty good episodes of Nate so far. I've enjoyed them. And, that's that. In terms of Nate's edit in this episode, I felt like this was maybe his worst episode. I felt like he didn't get a ton here. I don't think he was invisible by any means. But it just felt like I didn't really get as much from him this episode. I actually felt like it was a pretty lackluster episode for Nate's boot. I mean, it definitely was an exciting episode, an exciting kind of role reversal of where people were at in the tribe and the season. And, I've seen a lot of people really liking this episode. I would say I liked it, but I do think, Nate leaving hurts a little bit for me because Nate was my favorite. But I do think it was exciting to see. However, part of my disappointment comes from that I felt like Nate was like this kind of, Jeremy style, Samuel L. Sir character that was kind of, top of the dominant, alliance up until this point. It really seemed like he was a real contender to kind of take this thing to the end. And then all of a sudden he gets voted out. And it's like, oh my gosh. That's crazy that he gets voted out so early in the merge. But the thing with Nate here is I felt like they didn't really build him up that way in this episode. It was kind of almost like an afterthought. It was kind of like, well, we actually really want to go for Rizo or Savannah, but we think they have an idol, so we're just going to vote for Nate instead. And it's kind of like, why are we sweeping Nate to the side here? Nate has been, we've been seeing them talk about how Nate is kind of the leader of this alliance for some time. We've seen him be this really strategic and good player this far. And so for him to kind of just get, I feel like a little bit unceremoniously edited in the way he was taken out in this episode, I was a little bit disappointed by it. I felt like this should have been a bigger, Andrew Savage, Jeremy Collins style, boom, that guy's taken out, So I was a little bit let down by that, but I do think that the narrative was still there. They clearly built it up. I've given him complex personality every single episode up until this point, which is pretty impressive. I mean, I think that's kind of rare to get such a consistent rating like that. And so for this episode specifically, I think I gotta go with a middle of the road here, really. I think I might give him a middle of the road 3, though I think you could even argue it was maybe even a 2. I think I want to give him a 3. I don't want to be too unkind to the Nate edit here because he was still present. I still understood that it seemed pretty likely that he was going home, especially when they were kind of narrowing down what people might go home. It definitely felt like Nate is the one that probably would get clipped of these options, narratively speaking, in the way things have been built up so far. But yeah, I don't think there was really any tone here for Nate. I think that I don't think really, mixed tone, if anything. I don't think it was really that negative. Again, it wasn't like we have to get out Nate because we hate Nate or anything like that. but it also wasn't like, oh, Nate's so great. I don't hate Nate. I don't grate Nate. You know, like it's he's just Nate right in this episode. So yeah, I'm sad to give Nate a middle of the road on the way out, but that's where my gut is going on this episode. And so we will then hop up to the top of the list and go down in alphabetical order on the ratings that everybody got in this episode. Alex got, similarly to Nate, is also someone that has gotten complex personality every single episode up to this point. And I also think I'm going to demote him. I felt like this was also Alex's worst episode so far. He didn't get voted out, but I felt like we really did not get a ton from him, a little bit surprisingly. Now, I do think it's possible that, you know, he wasn't that important to this vote. I also think maybe some of like his content would have made it a little bit obvious if you showed too much of him, because he was kind of a swing vote, but maybe like the content that they did have meant that it would have been too obvious. They showed too much of him. So I don't think this is like a thing that makes me think, oh, like Alex is doomed or anything like that. I do still think that he's had a very good edit so far. It's fine to have a cool down episode, right? People get cool down episodes. Sophie's had them. Savannah's had them. Some of the biggest characters of the seasons have had them. So I don't think that's that bad. But I do think, honestly, I'm probably going to give Alex a middle of the road 2, I think. I mean, if we take a look at the confessional chart, which we have here, thanks to Just Strategic on Twitter, Nate got 4 confessionals, which, is fine. Right, middle of the road, I think 3 is probably appropriate for that. Alex only got 2. It's really not that much. Yeah, I really think that this is probably a 2 rating. I don't think it's a 1. I mean, I still think he had at least that one very memorable scene with Sophie B, or Soph as they call her now, which I don't think I can call her that. I'm in too deep, but definitely his worst episode so far. Jawan, I felt like was interesting in this episode. Let me check again. He got 5 confessionals. I do think that he did get a lot of content. It did feel like he had a lot of content here. I didn't feel like he was incredibly important to this episode in a way that he has been in the past. But I do think he was still pretty present. I felt like this was maybe his most like level edit, I guess. Like, it didn't feel extreme, but it didn't feel like bad either. I'm thinking, well, maybe just given a straightforward complex personality, 3 probably. I don't think it was excessive with the amount of Jawan content we got here, but we did hear him talking about why they voted out Shannon, coming up with that plot to tell to everyone else. We also saw him talk about how the original Uli thought he was with them, but he wasn't, and he was planning to flip, and he was figuring out who he wants out, and he wanted Rizo out, even though that isn't what happened, which, honestly was pretty smart thinking from Jawan. I was surprised he wanted Rizo out of all of the original Ulis, especially since, Savannah's the one that has the beef with him, but I guess he doesn't know that, but I also felt like, I was like, really, you want Rizo? But strategically, yeah, Rizo probably was the right person to vote out because he had the idol. So that probably would have been really good for them to flush that idol out of there. So, yeah, I mean, I think good stuff here from Jawan, good strategic content and whatnot, but nothing too crazy. So probably complex personality 3. Kristina. Now, this is strange because I look at this chart, and this is telling me that Kristina somehow got 3 confessionals. That's crazy to me. Am I crazy to think that I don't remember Kristina in this episode at all? Like, I remember, like, one moment. I guess she was the one pitching for them to vote out Nate. Okay? And that was shown. I can't believe she had 3 confessionals. I mean, she definitely got some screen time, but I didn't think it was enough to warrant 3 confessionals. I don't know where those come from. If anyone got an under the radar edit this episode, it probably would be her, in my opinion. Even though Alex and Rizo apparently got less confessionals, she definitely felt like the least edited here. So I'm on the verge of giving her under the radar, though I do think I could give her a middle of the road just because we did see her pitching a lot for Nate to leave. So I'll give her the middle of the road too to be generous, I guess, but I still think it felt pretty minimal. It felt like she wasn't again that in the forefront of narratively what was going on in this episode, even though she was pitching the person that got voted out. So, you know, not great for her, but interesting to analyze nonetheless. MC, man, MC in this episode, I mean, she does go and find her advantage. Gets a pretty good amount of screen time. We see her repeating multiple times throughout the episode how she needs to go find the advantage. She is the person, I believe, that narrates her tribe like going to the merge, which I thought was very interesting. I would have not have predicted that at all. I don't remember who the other people were. I feel like it was probably I don't remember who the other people were, but I know that it was her for her tribe at least. So that was interesting for her. How many confessionals did she get? 7 confessionals. I did feel like it was a pretty big episode for MC. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I feel like we're probably going complex personality. I don't think there was tone probably here. I think we're probably just going to complex personality. I think I gotta go 4 on it. She felt pretty present in the episode. Again, repeating multiple things, narrating the tribe, the merge, going to find her advantage, kind of talking crap about Savannah a little bit. That was a very big scene. I mean, maybe it's like positive tone, but not really. I mean, I still feel like what Savannah was doing was like exciting. Like it wasn't. I mean, I don't think it meant positive for MC necessarily. So yeah, I think complex personality just complex personality 4 is what I'm at for MC on this. Rizo, as we saw earlier, 2 confessionals. That's crazy. Rizzo's edit has been letting me down. Can I just say, Rizzo has such a weird edit. Weird edit. Now, although he's low on confessionals, I still felt like he was a big part of the episode. I still felt like he got pretty good screen time. I kind of would hate to give him a 2 on the level of Kristina and Alex, because I still felt like I understood more about what Rizzo was up to than I did with those 2 people. But maybe that's just because who he was affiliated with, who got more screen time. I don't know. That's interesting. Even though he has 2 confessionals, I kind of want to give him a 3. I'm trying to think of the tone. I kind of think maybe it's a mixed tone, honestly, for Rizzo. Because I do think there was like talking about him being kind of strategic and whatnot, but there was also a little bit of negativity. I didn't feel like it was a ton of negativity, but it was like enough to be like, we kind of got to get him out of here and whatnot. So I'm kind of thinking like a middle of the road mixed rating. Could I go a 2 or 3? I kind of want to go 3 on it just because he was narratively much more important than the people I gave 2s to. But yeah, I didn't feel like he was that far off of Nate either in terms of content. So we'll go there for Rizzo. Sage, pretty important, big aspect of the episode. If you take a look, 7 confessionals. She was very involved here, had a lot going on, was, kind of trying to lead a charge against Savannah in a way. She kind of rallies together. She's definitely feels like the main person that's on like that side. Like she was the person kind of driving the majority alliance that votes out Nate here, even though she doesn't get her way. I definitely think she was very involved here. I'm thinking, the tone, I don't think it was positive tone here. I do think it was maybe mixed tone. I'm wondering if it was toneless. But it did feel like there was still strong feelings about what she was up to. She's just a very like full of tone character, like I just feel like it's hard for her to have a toneless episode at all because that's just not really the type of character she is. In the way that Nate is kind of a, a straightforward toneless character almost. Sage is just has got tone abound. And so yeah, it's either a mixed or a neutral rating for me. I'm kind of thinking a complex personality mixed 4 is where my gut's going on Sage. I don't know if that's right, but that's where I'm at right now. Savannah, very interesting episode for Savannah. Her confessional count is only 4 confessionals, but man, was she really involved in this episode once again, as she has been in many episodes. She tries to steal the keys from MC, and people talk about how she's like this psycho, and they want to get rid of her. And I think the Mean Girl comes technically next time on Survivor segment, but there were a lot of like just stuff talking about Savannah, talking about being this big player, talking about wanting to get rid of her, talking about she's a threat, yada 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 yada. I definitely think this is a complex personality negative episode. I wouldn't go so far as over the top. I don't think it was like a crazy, I don't think it was, she got a crazy amount of content to be over the top, but I do think it was definitely negative. So I probably will go complex personality negative. I'm feeling a 4 on it, honestly. I felt like she was still very, very present here. I mean, she gets less confessionals than other people, but I just don't feel like she was a vital aspect of the story of this episode. You could maybe bump her down to a 3, but I mean, she definitely felt way more important than the people I've given 3s to. So I feel like I gotta give her a 4 for that reason. Sophie B. I feel like this was a good episode for Sophie. I don't think it was an excessive episode for Sophie. I don't think we're probably looking at tone here. Maybe positive tone, but I don't think so. I mean, maybe mixed tone. I don't think there's really any tone because she was trying to bring Alex in to her alliance, but it didn't really work. But it was still discussed a lot. I don't think Alex talked badly about Sophie or saying oh, I don't want to join Sophie's stupid alliance or anything like that. I just think it just didn't really pan out. So I'm thinking a straightforward complex personality for Sophie. Either a 3 or 4. I kind of want to give it a 3, honestly. I felt like she had some good stuff. She had that really good scene with Alex, but I don't think it was too excessive, really. Yeah, I think 3. I felt like she was less vital than some of these other people we've seen so far. Sophie S. For the first time ever, I'm giving Sophie S. a better rating than Sophie B. Great episode for Sophie S. She got a ton of content. She was the target, and then she wins immunity, which, listen, I called that right away. As soon as we cut the commercial, I was like, Sophie's going to win this freaking immunity challenge. And then commercial comes back, and the challenge starts, and, of course, she wins the immunity challenge. That felt, as an Edgic guy especially, that I saw that coming a mile away. But I was rooting for it. I was so happy. My winner pick succeeding. She's been purpled this whole time, but she's here now. She wins the first immunity. She's super involved in all the conversations about where the vote's going to go. We honestly saw a lot of strategic content from her this episode. If we take a look at her confessional count, it was 6 confessionals, which is pretty big for Sophie S. especially. Let's see, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. She dang near doubled her confessional count in this one episode. So for that, I don't think I can give her a 5, but I do think I can give her a 4. I think a complex personality 4. You could maybe go mixed. Honestly, maybe we do go mixed, because I know there was a lot of people talking about we gotta get rid of her, and we're kind of she's playing, and we all wanted her gone. I believe someone said at one point. I think that might have been Rizo. But she survives, and I think she was also rootable. And it was yeah, she's overcoming, and she's surviving, and she wins the immunity. Good for her. So yeah, I'm thinking mixed. We didn't get much for positive ratings this episode. In fact, we don't even really have much for negatives either. I'm looking at it. But Steven, pretty good episode for Steven. I mean, if we take a look at the confessionals, apparently he had 7 confessionals. I didn't feel like he was as vital as some of these other people, but he was involved. He did have strategic content. It didn't pop in the way that like Sophie popped or MC popped or Sage or Savannah popped, but I guess it was, the screen time was there. So I think I do probably want to give him a 4. I think. And I think I probably want to give him a complex personality. I don't think there's tone really for him. They were going to vote him out, but just not really for any good reason. Just kind of, he was the alternate choice, I guess, because Sophie won immunity. Otherwise, nothing like spectacular in terms of scenes here, but we did see him form the bottoms up alliance, which was really good. Strategically, I think that really helped him. I think he put himself in a really good position by really solidifying that alliance, managing to swing those two over to the Hina side. And voting out Nate was maybe, I don't know if it was Steven's call, but it definitely was very beneficial to Steven. It like guaranteed that he stayed this episode, which was really big for him. I don't like giving him the 4, but I think I should. I'd love to hear what people have to say about Steven's rating this episode, because I kind of feel wrong about it. Feel dirty giving him that good of a rating this episode. But I feel like I got to. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if I change it once we're done. But yeah, so those are the Edgic ratings for the episode. And so now we will hop into the contenders and rank every person from least to most likely to win the season based on their edit of this episode and what their edit has been like so far in the season. Nate, I mean, he drops down. Listen, he was on his way up. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. He almost made the 1, but then he dropped back down to 3, and now he's out. I'm so sad. I really wish I could have put Nate at number 1 at any point in the season, but I couldn't. I really could not put him at number 1, unfortunately, even though I really wanted to. But c'est la vie. He's out. It definitely limits the amount of people that I think could win the season. It's part of the reason why I was holding out hope. And I had people in the comments. I mean, I believe Pedro in the comments especially was saying that they saw that a lot of negativity in Nate's edit, and that Nate was probably going to go out pretty soon. I didn't really believe it. I saw it. I understood. I understood where it was coming from. But I maybe purposefully chose to neglect it, I guess. Because I was just partially like, I can't afford to lose Nate right now. Because if Nate leaves anytime soon, the amount of people that could even have a minuscule chance of winning the season is so small. And Nate was one of like 3 or 4 people that even had like an ounce of possibility to win this season edgically. And so losing Nate, it just feels like it's just like a death sentence to the rest of the edit. It's just, we're going to be on a real march to crowning one of 2 people at this point. People have been saying it's a 2-horse race. It's basically been a 2-horse race for some time now, since the first episode, but it's really a 2-horse race now. There's a huge gap that Nate has left in his wake, I think. But we will still rank everybody just to discuss how much I think their chances are possible at all. Kristina's in last. I mean, it's pretty obvious to me. Kristina's clearly in last. She is by far the least important person left in the game. Kind of the voice of wanting to vote out Nate, and yet it didn't really feel like that mattered all that much. It felt like they just needed someone to be the voice of it in the edit, and Kristina was the person they had. But it didn't really feel like it was like, wow, what a great move Kristina made. I don't think it really was painted that way. And so, yeah, I mean, and she's got the double goose egg confessional count, which I just think is so bad, especially in the 90-minute episode era. I think Kristina is really cooked. I just don't think she can win. And this is no shade to Kristina as a person or a player or anything like that. I mean, I've enjoyed Kristina on the season. I just don't think she's going to win. Now, honestly, I'm a little bit wondering if I change this, but I do think I gotta keep Sophie second last. Her edit's been so bad this far, but it is having the upswing I was hoping it would have. Honestly, I feel like she had, like, arguably the best merge episode here. Such a huge upswing for her. She's getting hot at the right time. She didn't need to be hot before in the edit. It didn't matter. She didn't go to tribal. She never went to tribal. Nothing was going on. It wasn't important. It was pre-merge. But now we've hit the merge, and she's getting hot. She's winning immunity. She's getting a bunch of content. She's getting 6 confessionals. It's huge. Doubled in her confessional count one episode. Yeah, I mean, it's I have my eye on Sophie. I mean, the foundation is still so bad that it's really not going to happen. But I've got my eye on it. Okay, I'm happy to see my winner pick finally shining, and audience is finally seeing in her what I saw in her pre-season when I watched her interviews before the season started. I knew there was something there, and so I'm glad that people are understanding that now. But I'm keeping MC next. I almost thought about Bruce pumping MC below Sophie. I don't think that is the right move at this point in time. But, I mean, listen. Again, MC, pretty good content here at the merge. But, like, honestly, I didn't like it as much as Sophie because I felt like MC, I mean, they both had circumstantial content. But I felt like with Sophie, it was a little bit more like forced circumstantial content, I guess. Whereas with MC, it was kind of like... It just felt like it was circumstantial. It didn't feel like they were like trying to overdo MC in this episode. I didn't get like a ton of like personal content or strategic content from MC. I don't think it was mostly about getting the idol. I don't even know if we saw like MC talk to Steven really much in this episode, which I would have expected. Probably if they linked back up, if they were important. So yeah. I don't have much hopes for MC. And this is maybe a hot take. People might not like this, but I'm leaving Steven. I'm leaving Steven at 7. I'm sorry, guys. I gotta tell you, the Steven defenders I've seen out there on Reddit, in the comment section, on Twitter, all these places, people saying, give Steven a chance. He's got a good edit. He could win this thing. Y'all are sounding just like the Mitch defenders last season. I gotta tell you, that's who you are. You are the Mitch defenders. Okay? All the people said, Mitch, he's not got that bad of an edit. Look at the positives here. He could win. He could win. So there's hope. I mean, maybe, but not really at all. No. If we're looking at like a typical season, there's still so many negatives there. I wouldn't expect it. Yes, there are positives. It could be like a crazy unconventional winner edit. But like I can't boost him any higher by having an unconventional weird edit. I can't. I think particularly the things I think are really bad for Steven. Obviously the complex tribe. It's not just being on the least complex tribe. It's being on like one of the least complex tribes in Survivor history. It's terrible. It's absolutely damning for me. Listen, I give credit. Steven's got positives outside of that. I will admit. However, when Steven leaves that tribe, last episode, and in retrospect, I think last episode was even worse for Steven than I said last week because that was his huge like situation that he like survived. He managed to flip the red tribe on Shannon, and yet he didn't matter at all to the edit. It was all about Sage. It was all about Jawan. It was all about Shannon. Steven was obviously far and away the 4th most important person in a tribe of 3, basically, like that's terrible. That should have been a huge episode for him. That should have been Kyle idling out Thomas. That was Steven's episode if he won, and it wasn't at all. And so, yes, he gets strategic narration from time to time. Not even that much, really. Like, I still haven't given him great ratings thus far. It is some strategic narration. I just think that at best, at absolute best, it's second place. I mean, there's no way he wins. I mean, like, maybe he's got to edit for like a 0-vote finalist or something like that, or like some kind of dragon that gets taken out at the end. But I don't think that it is a winner's edit at all. So he's staying where he's staying. Now, I am interested in maybe changing something here, but I'm not going to. Okay, I'm going to leave Jawan next. Moving up to 6. But not actually technically moving just because Nate left. I just think that, honestly, I don't hate Jawan's edit at this point in time. I think that he does have kind of a little bit of a lovable, rootable underdog vibe going on. I do think that, Sage and Jawan are kind of the positive heroes in comparison to some negativity that Savannah and even a little bit of Nate were kind of getting recently. However, I still think that Jawan's got a lot of negativity. He's had a weird edit where it's like, it's just kind of been all over the place tone-wise. I can't put him up any higher, but I do think the story is there. I think don't discount Jawan. I still think Jawan is more likely to win than Steven, and maybe that's a hot take, but he's just a way more important character with a way more focused on story. There's been way more care put into Jawan's edit than any of the people below him, anyone on the Hinu tribe. So I think it's possible. Rizo's clearly at number 5. I almost put Jawan above Rizo, honestly. I was very close. I think I'm going to keep Rizo there for now, mostly because I think that Rizo could really bounce back. I think next episode is a little bit of a make or break episode for Rizo here. Maybe not total break, but I do think it's bad. I think if Jawan is a good episode next week and Rizo has another episode like this week, next week, I think I would move Jawan above Rizo. But for right now, I'm holding out that Rizo could get some really good content next week and can move forward with a good edit, because I do still think he had a great premiere. I do still think there was stuff that was set up for him to do well, but I don't really think it's a winner's edit. I think it's a character edit, but that's kind of the case with all these middle ground people. So we'll see where it goes for Rizo. I'm leaving Sage at 4. Hot take, okay? I'll get to discussing that after I'm done here. I just think that Sage, I just don't think that Sage really does win. I think she's an important character right now. She's a very big, wacky, expressive character, very vital to the narrative of what's been going on in the past few episodes. I just don't really think that she actually wins. I still think that she was set up so badly. Again, she was so low in my first 2 episode ratings. The setup was just not there. I really didn't think she stood much of a chance. She's in a great position at this point, edgically and strategically. But I don't think she's going to win the war. She's won some battles. I don't think she's going to win the war. It's just instinct, I guess. But we'll see. I'm leaving Alex at 3. Some people are going out on Alex. I've seen. They're dropping him. Okay, people will be dropping Alex and moving him down. I'm leaving Alex at 3 because I do still think he has better foundation than anyone below him. That foundation is still there. He had a great edit early on in the season. This was not a great episode for him at the merge, but I also would say I still think there's stuff there. I still think he's still getting content even though this wasn't a great episode, I still think that the scene he got with Sophie B was still a good scene. We saw a little bit of his strategic positioning. I still understand his narrative. He's maybe not the forefront of focus of like the storylines that are going on right now, but that's okay. He doesn't need to be, right? He doesn't need to be the most important person at this point. You know, there have been plenty of winners that like reach the merge and are kind of chilling for a little bit until they slowly start to come out and become like, oh, it looks like they're going to win, right? I don't think that he needs to have this explosive start here. I also think that, again, I'm comparing to last season. You could look at Alex and Sophie B as a little bit of a duo, like Kyle and Camilla. Everyone thought Camilla was clearly the more important person in the dynamic, and all of a sudden it was like, oh, I guess actually Kyle was more important and Kyle's the one that's winning. That could easily be Sophie and Alex here. It could be that we all think that Sophie is the way more likely person to win, which I think she is. But maybe Alex is like kind of the leech that maybe isn't the focus, but is connected to people that are the focus. And then all of a sudden he kind of comes out and becomes the person that has the winner arc. I think it's there. More than anyone else, the foundation is there. I am finally switching stuff up at the top. I haven't switched anything else up. Everything else has stayed exactly the same. But I am moving Savannah down. I've punished Sophie 2 different occasions where I bumped her down from first place because I felt like she needed to be punished for having a bad episode. And that's Savannah here. I think this was bad episode in some ways for Savannah. Very negative. A lot of people kind of talking badly about her, wanting to take her out. She's really being painted as a kind of like this psychopathic villain, which is great. Honestly, I'm loving it. This was arguably the most negative episode for Savannah, and it made me love her way more. I was starting to feel like when she was like talking badly about Jawan and whatnot, I came on here and I said either last week or a couple weeks ago that I was like, I kind of feel like I'm not liking Savannah that much. Like I'm kind of rooting for Jawan in this dynamic at this point. However, this episode, I'm switched up. I'm on the Savannah train. I gotta be honest. I'm on the Savannah train moving forward. Like she's becoming ruthless. I gotta respect it. She's got the hustle. Okay, she's got the grind. I see it. I have a lot of hopes for her moving forward in the season. And Jawan and Sage switched up on my boy Nate, who was my GOAT. And so now they're the ops. Okay, Sage and Jawan, I'm done with them. I'm not a fan anymore. I'm on the Savannah train. Savannah's gonna get revenge for Nate. She's gonna take them all out. That's what I'm hoping. So I'm punishing her by moving him down the list. However, my fandom of Savannah has actually moved way up this week, and I'm hoping that that stays consistent in the future. Which means that Sophie B is back up to the number 1 spot, a place she knows well. Her and Savannah have been trading it back and forth consistently over the course of the season. I think that this wasn't a tremendous episode for Sophie, but it was pretty good. She's got the best narrative. She's been very focused. She's tied to a lot of the main people. I mean, listen, who are Sophie's 2 number 1 allies? Savannah and Alex, who are number 2 and 3. That's really good for Sophie. She's the middle ground of the next 2 most important people who have gotten the most content, right? That's huge for Sophie. I just think that she's got really good stuff here. I love Sophie. She's been my favorite so far to watch on this season. I've really enjoyed her. I really hope that, she can stick it out and have some good stuff moving forward. This is less of a positive episode for Sophie and more of a negative episode for Savannah. So I'm interested to see what happens moving forward. I do think, if Savannah does win, it is starting to become pretty excessively negative, which is pretty unusual, especially in the new era for a winner. But I do still think there's redeeming qualities there. I do still think that she could have this really cunning, great strategic edit. She's, this really awesome, kind of kick-ass villain, honestly, at this point. And so I think it's there. But Sophie has definitely the more straightforward understandable winners at it at this point, honestly. Even though I do still feel like Savannah could overcome it, that negative tone's got to move her down. Sophie doesn't really have the flaws that Savannah has, other than maybe a little bit less screen time the past couple episodes than Savannah, but that's okay. I feel like that's got to be where I go for now. So we'll copy our top 5, move it over to the Edgic chart, and talk about predictions for the future of the season. I think that, as I've alluded to a few times in this episode, I definitely think Nate going out is a big, big move. And I think that we're going to see some revenge, okay? Revenge is coming in the form of Savannah and Rizo and Sophie B, okay? These 3 are going to be taking over the season. These are clearly 3 very important big characters so far in the season. And I think that, honestly, Nate leaving just solidifies my expectations for them even more. I said last week that I thought that the discussion of Nate maybe being voted out was potentially good for Nate's winner chances because it's like kind of manufactured danger. I felt like I kind of got that this episode for both Savannah and Rizo, and that it was kind of like they were kind of manufacturing this danger that like everyone really, really, really wanted Rizo and Savannah out, but then they voted out anyways for some reason, which was like a little bit weird. I felt like it should have been like, we got to get Nate out. He's a big threat. That's what I would have expected. But it felt like manufactured to really bolster Rizo and Savannah as like really big dogs that somehow survive this, and then somehow they vote Nate instead. So that's big for their chances. I think that narratively, Nate leaving, honestly, again, I don't think that those people going out next because they're clearly more important than the other people. There's no way that like Hino wipes out these Uli people. It just is not going to happen narratively at all. And so clearly this trio especially is going to move forward, make a big impact, and do some great stuff moving forward. A few comparisons I would make. One, I think we're looking at a new like Tika 3 kind of situation here. I think the producers really want the fans to love this trio. They are now on the outs. They're now kind of looking like the underdogs in this situation. And so I think that they really want to market them well. They want the fans to really love this trio of Savannah, Rizo, and Sophie B. And they're going to just dominate. Despite being low on the numbers at this point in time, they're going to overcome it and really dominate. And I think all 3 of them are going to be in the finale at this point, almost hands down. I don't have a lot of doubts about that. This is, like, again, big Tika 3 energy that they really want the audience to love this trio, and they want to market them really, really, really well. I also have another comparison to make that I feel really good about, which is I said earlier that I compared Nate to Jeremy Collins in San Juan del Sur. And if Nate is Jeremy Collins, then Savannah is definitely Natalie Anderson. Okay? I feel like this is a pretty clear comparison to me. Nate gets voted out. I feel like we definitely saw some really good stuff of the Savannah-Nate dynamic. I'm really sad to lose it. Honestly, I loved the Savannah-Nate dynamic. It was maybe my favorite dynamic so far in this season. Other than, I don't know, maybe some fights, I guess. But I really liked the push and pull there with Nate and Savannah as a strategic duo. And I think we're going to see Savannah really go hog wild to avenge Nate as the, Jeremy was the second juror, but first juror. Really, get revenge for him. Go on to triumph. It's a big reason why also I think narratively she could win. Sophie, I got to put Sophie at number 1 right now, but I do think that we're looking at where Savannah will go from here. Part of my worry about Rizzo's chances is if this is like a big trio, Tika 3 situation, I got to see Rizo boost up, okay? I think that, this can't just be a 2 plus another guy, right? Right now, it's kind of Savannah and Sophie, plus like this Rizo guy who's kind of with them. Rizo, you got to move up. Okay, this is gonna be a three-way street. This is gonna be Operation Italy here. Okay, we gotta see like some great stuff from all three of y'all. And so I'm really hoping that Rizo has a good at it next time. I do think that obviously Savannah is going to take the brunt of this kind of revenge storyline that I predict will probably happen pretty soon. But I need Rizo. I really hope that Rizo is involved in it and that he still has his own aspects of being part of the revenge plot and underdog story thing that's going on with this trio right now, right? So that's part of why I'm low on Rizo right now, but I do think it's possible he can move up. If he's not, if it's all about Savannah and Sophie and he continues to barely get anything, I think he could even move down in my rankings of contenders. But for now, he could move up because I do think that trio is going to be very important in the future. And I think that's pretty much all I got. I don't really have much to say about the other people. I think that trio is going to be very important, and they're going to slowly kind of wipe out these other people. As for next week, what I think will happen, it's honestly pretty difficult to figure out how that trio comes out of this next week. My best guess is that Rizo plays the idol correctly on someone. I don't know who, but someone. And they idle someone out. If they do idle someone out, well, I guess it could be anyone, really. So I don't really know who they would idle out. That's tough to say. That's the easiest prediction. In terms of, like, can they actually flip a vote and stay in the game? My best guess on who I could hypothesize they could get and what could happen is, honestly, I think they need to get Sophie S. Even though they tried to vote out Sophie S this time, and she knows it, which is not good. I don't know how they pull her. I don't think they can pull Sage back. Sage is done with them, okay? They're not going to get Steven because they just voted for Steven. MC is close with Steven and has beef with Savannah as well. Those are three people that have beef with Savannah. There's no way they're going to get any of them. They could get Jawan back, but it's not really enough. I do think they could pull Jawan back. However, the problem with pulling Jawan back is that even then, like, they could get Jawan and Alex, but next week that's only 5 out of 10, so it's just a tie. So it's not good enough, right? Those are possible numbers they could get back to vote out someone. But I think that my better prediction, which is a long shot maybe, I think that those three somehow get Sophie S, who's kind of a vital person here, who knows she was on the bottom of her tribe before, really doesn't seem to have strong connections to the other Hinas. We saw her not really getting along with Kristina the last episode. Well, maybe not getting along, but kind of wanting to vote her out. And so I could see her jumping ship at this point, okay? I think they pull in Sophie S. Maybe they pull in Alex and Jawan, I guess. Or they could get Kristina. Maybe Kristina goes with Sophie S. And they vote out who I predict MC, I think. Especially if Jawan is voting with them. Because I don't think Jawan's going to vote against Steven or Sage if they're relying on Jawan's vote. I think narratively, Sage, I don't think can leave at this point. I said last week I thought she could maybe be a goner at the merge. I now disagree with that. I think she's sticking around. Kristina, I also think is kind of probably sticking around for a little bit, honestly. Unless she gets like medevac or something. But I do think that, like, it's probably pretty likely she's a little bit of, like, goated right now. Kind of, they're pulling her along. No one's really worrying about her anymore, I don't think. So, They might want to take out Sophie S, but I just I don't know how that happens, right? And so I think the clearest shot is they somehow flip Sophie S to vote out MC is the big move there, because MC is tied to Steven. She's not officially part of Bottoms Up, but she's kind of part of Bottoms Up. But maybe Jawan doesn't know that. Jawan wants Steven to be his number one, but if MC's still in the game, Steven's going to want to be with MC. And so somehow, I guess, like, that is a 7 or 6. That's a 6 that votes out MC. None of them seem to have strong connections to MC. Only one is Sophie S, but like it didn't seem like it was that strong. I wouldn't be surprised if Sophie S kind of betrays her based on the storyline we've seen so far. So it's my best prediction. So I'm going to predict that MC is the next boot. Strategically and narratively, honestly, it's really hard because I feel like the narrative and the strategic are really opposing to each other right now. And the only person that overlaps that I understand going out that is like a good middle ground between the two is MC. Because otherwise I don't know how they vote out the other like people that need to go narratively soon. Yeah. Especially since we just lost a big fish this time. I think we got to lose a small fish. We lost Shannon and Nate in a row. 2 big fish. Time for small fish to go. Which makes me think it can't be Sage and Jawan. I know it's not Sophie B, Rizo, or Savannah. It could be Alex, I guess. Like, strategically. Like, maybe everyone's just like, we don't care about Alex. Let's just vote him out. Maybe. But I don't know why that would happen. I don't know who would want that. So, yeah. I think that either Savannah and Rizo and Sophie B use an immunity idol and they idol out someone random. Maybe a Sage, maybe a Jawan. Maybe a Sophie S actually would be a pretty likely person to get idoled out. Sophie S or Kristina. Probably Sophie S. I don't think Steven, but it could be Steven. Probably Sophie S. Or MC. They could idol out MC directly too. But if it's not an idol, then I think it's MC getting voted out. That's my prediction. That's as good as I got. Got it wrong this week. Didn't see Nate coming at all. I predicted that Kristina would be leaving this week. That was wrong. Not even close. You win some, you lose some. But, hey, we'll try. Okay? I'm happy to get things wrong, honestly, because everything else typically feels so obvious in this season. So I'm happy to have a big thing I didn't expect to happen, because that hasn't really happened very much so far in this season. So, and that's all I got. Thank you guys so much for watching. Really appreciate it. Go press that subscribe button and click that bell so you can always be notified of when I make a new upload talking about the edit of Survivor 49. I'm on here every week talking about it, analyzing it, figuring out what's going to happen. So keep tuning in. It's a good time. We hang out. Give your thoughts in the comments below. I love to read them and reply to them and have discussion. I'm just one guy, okay? I'm not right about all my opinions. This is a community effort here. We're figuring things out together. I do give people shout outs sometimes when I think they have good ideas or comments that change my line of thinking moving forward. So definitely, give me some comments. I really would appreciate them. And go check out Survivor Northwestern. It's a good show. I'm on there. And just subscribe to see more of these videos. And I will see you all next week. I have been North. Stay frosty.